All right, so today I'm going to talk about how to increase the earth element in your energy body and therefore in your physical body. I believe that understanding how to increase, build, and maintain vitality is extremely important in the process of awakening, because awakening has an energetic component where if your body is out of balance, it will unconsciously adjust itself to be able to handle the amount of light, right? So if you're not attending to your earth element, for example, if you don't feel connected to your environment, if you don't feel connected to human beings, if you have a habit of shaming and guilting yourself, your body might put on weight, for example, because it loves you, and it has a mind of its own, and it's doing what it needs to do in order to balance your energy, right? That's one way that the body will try to balance you, right? If you're not paying attention to what you need, if you are not aware of your needs, of your energetic needs, your body will adjust itself somehow and increase one or more of the elements to even you out. And people get really frustrated with that. They're like, why is this happening? Why am I so exhausted? Why am I putting on weight? Why can't I gain weight? It's because there's not an awareness of what is needed energetically. So I'm going to talk about the earth element today because it's very common for spiritual seekers to have like an imbalance or an excess of air. Also an excess of fire, which could manifest as like pushing yourself a lot, just being very driven, very fiery, which, that's also passion, which is a good thing. But in excess, right, without the right balance of the elements, like we come out of balance and the body gets injured. So this excess of air, right, overthinking, over contemplating, sometimes over meditating, sometimes spacing out, especially if you discover the observer consciousness and you're checking out of reality into the observer, you're floating above your reality. This results in a lack of vitality in the body. So I'm going to talk about the psychological pieces, whichever ones come to me, because there are many, of how to increase this element in the body and practices that you can do. So psychologically, right, the earth element, the root chakra is our presence, right? The presence. And there's presence in terms of like this form of intelligence it's like an orb of energy that you may or may not have realized in your life, but it's like this kind of ball of light that has intelligence and feels joyful, and it has a song. That's not what I'm talking about. I'm talking about your psychological presence, how I show up in this world, right? Am I confident? Do I feel capable? Do I feel clear? Do I feel at one with myself when I communicate, when I act? That's your presence. So if there's no energy in the root chakra, if there's a vacancy in the root chakra, right, you're not going to be able to show up how you want to show up. You're not going to be able to embody your divinity as a human. And embodying your divinity means right action, right speech, right? Those are the Buddha's words, but speaking clearly, right, from integrity, from love, not exaggerating, not lying, right? Only the separate self wants to lie, right? To manipulate others' perception of you. So, right, these practices of right living and right action, meaning action that stems naturally from a place of equanimity and clarity, right? And that's in integrity with the whole system, like doing no harm, learning how to control the astral body, which I've spoken about in other videos. But today I'm going to talk about really a big psychological piece, two big psychological pieces, which are the desire to be here, which a lot of people, especially empathic people, have a story that they're too sensitive to be here, and they might not be consciously thinking that, but what that might show up as is they avoid pretty much everything, interaction, their own feelings, A lot of empaths would identify as being very sensitive to energy, yet they're not sensitive to their own emotions. They're only sensitive to environment because they had to attune to their environment to stay safe within their environment. But the problem is that if all of your attention is in the environment, then you don't have that inner attention that is required inside of yourself to build your vitality, to build your energy, and to radiate your presence. So first of all, to make a decision, like, I'm going to be aware of my central channel, right? Especially the central channel below the diaphragm, which is where, it happens in the heart as well, it happens in the throat, but a lot of what happens underneath the diaphragm, the solar plexus especially, are feelings that we avoid, when the truth is they're just sensations that if we feel, they would discharge so much energy and free up so much creative energy. In our experience and our radiation of our presence, the quality of our radiation of our presence would be much fuller, much more full of love, right? It would have more of an awakening quality for others. So the desire to be here, right? You have to want to be here in order for the spirit, which makes its way through the chakra system, to make its way all the way down into the root. So to want to be here, like I say all the time, you should create the world you want to live in. So part of that, what that means internally, is I'm connected to myself. Sure, I can be connected to all life. I can know that everything is myself, but am I connected to me? Like, am I connected to what I feel? A big part of why a lot of people have no desire to be here is because they've been starved of love. And to learn how to love yourself and honor yourself is really important, but it's also really important to notice that love is real. The trickster in us, right? The trickster is, you could call it the devil, you could call it the part of your mind that tricks you into staying in low energy. It wants you to believe that love doesn't exist, that love isn't real, or that love doesn't last. So it's very deep in our minds that we believe this. If we've been starved of love, if we weren't honored for our unique expression, if our needs weren't met. So to be aware of the aliveness of the elements, of the sun, of the water, and feeling connected to your neighborhood and your home and the water that comes out of your shower when you bathe, to notice like happy couples, to notice happy children, to observe love in the world, opens up the root chakra. Because, you can't blame, the spirit is not going to want to come in, unless there's this acknowledgement that love is real, right? If I acknowledge that love is real, if love is real to me, not only within myself, but everywhere, right? I see it everywhere. I see it in all of God's forms, in nature. I can tune into the flowers and the trees and I feel that I'm cared for. I tune into the sun and I feel that I'm cared for. I see it everywhere. I see people caring for each other. I see people coming together and helping. I see people, wanting to help others recover from illnesses. I see people coming together for charities, helping get supplies together for war, right? If we consciously acknowledge that love is real, right, that helps build your physical vitality. Love is real. Love is real. You have to make your mind and body familiar with the idea that love is real, right? Love in its purest sense is simply, it's like ether. It's just the holding of everything with no resistance. You just hold everything. Everything is welcome. Everything is myself in its purest sense, but in a more psychological sense, right? In a more human sense. And this is why it matters, the psychological translation of love and our observation of love in the world. It matters to our chakra system and our physical vitality, because we're not just the ethers, we're all the elements, and we are human, and we're having this human experience. So to acknowledge love in the world, it starts to create this opening and this desire to be here, because I do see that it's everywhere. I do see that we love each other. I do see that love is real. So make it a priority to familiarize your mind, your body mind, with the idea that love is real, right? In every way, reading poetry, but really not just staying in the philosophical or mental world, seeing it in the world, between humans, within yourself, acknowledging how loving you are towards other people, acknowledging that love is real increases your energy, right? The idea that love isn't real decreases your energy. It disallows spirit to manifest into form. So one of the other ways that our trickster keeps us in low energy is, and this is a very tricky one, nostalgia, right? One of the ways that we repeat the same stories over and over and over again is that we remember them. And nostalgia is truly a trickster because it's glamorized in music, it's glamorized in movies. And just think about why that would be. Why would they make sadness and deception and upsetting memories glamorous and beautiful? They're trying to make you associate sadness with beauty. And I hear people to this day who are exploring the spiritual journey saying, well, yeah, there's beauty in all the emotions. It's like, yeah, but the emotion is a feedback that you're not in alignment with reality, right? Part of your mind is not in alignment with the perfection and the beauty of reality. Therefore, that's why you're feeling negative emotion, right? And so glamorizing negative emotion, like looking back at your old life, or what didn't happen, or what could have been, or you know, in my case, for example, the kids I could have had by now, right? I was married for 10 years. Could have had kids, could have been speaking Portuguese to them and making them blah, 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 like all the plans I had. I could go there, sure, if I didn't have discipline. But why would I do that to myself? I love myself enough not to let my mind drift off into low energy like nostalgia, right? And I want to energize this in a very powerful way. Nostalgia is not beautiful. Nostalgia is a trickster energy that keeps you locked in low energy states, right? It keeps you out of the present moment. It keeps you out of the awareness of what is here, okay? So, right, any ways that we drift back into the past, our addiction to addiction, right? This is the unconscious female energy. Our addiction to addiction, our addiction to feeling bad, because that's all the mind can come up with. Like, oh, well, this is really interesting. This is like, there's lots of songs written about this. There's lots of poems written about this sadness and pain. It's so beautiful. Let me tell you that when I do Rohan with people, what I saw in my own mind was a glamorization of violence. And where that comes from is that I was around violence as a child, and the only way I could cope with it was to make it beautiful. And what that looked like in my mind, I went into a room in my mind, there was a flower in a glass case, kind of like in the Beauty and the Beast. And when I tried to heal the room and lift the room, the flower wouldn't lift. And I asked my intuition, what does this represent? And this represents like, oh, you value, you cherish chaos, you cherish violence, you cherish sadness, right? Because that's what my mind is familiar with. That's what the mind is familiar. It's familiar with violence. And so the only way a child can cope with a violent environment is to make it beautiful. So then you wonder why you get into relationships where you have all these hard cases in your life, all these people that need all this healing and cause all this chaos, is because in your mind you've made it beautiful. That's a deep trickster energy. Like, ask yourself if you see that in your life. And that can look like wanting to save someone. Okay, that can look like becoming part of somebody else's creation instead of you creating your reality. You prioritizing helping and healing others to the detriment of your own soul and the detriment of your own vitality. You giving your power away, your soul away, because you believe somebody else gives you power. Right? These are all ways that we stay in this reality that is familiar to us from our childhood. So to recognize that nostalgia, right? If you were to draw nostalgia as a picture, it could look like you floating in a tank of water. And the water represents like all this numbing, like unpleasant, like kind of numbed out drug feeling that nostalgia feels like. But nostalgia can feel beautiful to you if that's all you've known. So I talk about a lot, you have to create contrast between what's familiar to your mind and clarity and vividness and aliveness. And so that means you have to expand your awareness into this moment and feel the aliveness of it. This is where life is, not in that tank of emotion that I go to numb out in, right? So enhancing your relationship with the elements, with the sun, with the water, with the flowers, with your neighborhood, being in an active state of appreciation of the bed that you sleep in, of the food that you eat. This puts your awareness here. It puts your awareness here, and it starts to teach your mind, like, here is better than there. It's better here. This is where we want to be, right? This is where we want to be. So another psychological piece that really blocks the vitality in the body is the tendency to shame oneself, the tendency to guilt oneself. Guilt and shame are also epic tricksters because they are taught to us that they are beautiful by religion, right? We are taught through religious conditioning to feel like shameful little disgusting nasty little sinners that are unworthy of claiming our divinity, unworthy of abundance, unworthy of feeling positive emotion. This is the trickster trying to keep us in low energy. So what does that look like? That looks like shaming yourself for not being able to overcome a behavior that you want to overcome. That looks like making yourself feel bad for needing assistance, right? We have this inner knowledge of self-sovereignty, of sovereignty. So when we need assistance in our lives, why it's hard to accept. It's hard for the mind to accept. And so this is why practicing, like receiving the rays of the sun, really getting familiar with what it feels like to receive. It's a good way to teach your mind how to receive from the universe, right? Which is ultimately yourself. But shaming and guilting yourself for something that's happening in your life, it is the biggest club you can hit yourself with. It is the opposite of the truth, right? So the truth is I am divinity in a body. I am divinity expressing here. I am divine. The furthest away you could possibly get from that in the mind is I'm bad, I'm evil, there's something wrong with me, there's something wrong with what I want, there's something wrong with who I am, there's something wrong with my body's natural needs and inclinations, there's something wrong with me. That's a construct. And the way that could appear is if you are comparing yourself to others, right? Comparing yourself to others is literal insanity, right? If you're the Godhead expressing as you, a unique emanation from the mind of God, it's literally insane to compare yourself to anyone, because your life, what you're experiencing as your current life, is not just about this life. It's about a continuum of life that's been going on for a long, long time, and about what you desire, and about the family and the astrological energies and all of the things that you chose to create the experience that you desired to have, right? That is so intimate, right? Nobody could possibly understand. If you were to, and I do this all the time, if you were to put yourself, your consciousness in someone else's mind, it would feel like a trippy LSD trip to you, right? And it would be like, whoa, like, because what they're influenced by, their level of energy, like what they're conditioned by, what their desires are totally intimate to them, right? So meanwhile, if they're giving you an opinion from their perspective about you, like, why would you take it seriously? If it's not something you want to hear, why would it matter? Like, it's just somebody else talking to you. It's just somebody just sharing their understanding with you. There's no charge, there's no reaction. So if you are still reacting to what people think about you, if you are still comparing yourself to others, stop it. Get off of the social media. If you still honestly have a habit of looking at things and then that making you feel bad, stop it for a while. it's amazing what you can unleash inside of yourself when you stop distracting yourself with comparison and putting your nose in other people's lives. It's truly amazing. You should try it. But if you're still comparing yourself to others, that's a symptom of not knowing who you are, an emanation of God that is perfect and whose inclinations and preferences and desires are divine, right? So if you're still comparing, if you're still reacting to what people say to you, be aware of it. Be aware of, like, how does that feel? Does that feel like a stab in the gut? Okay, what part of my mind is stabbed by that opinion? What does that part of me believe about itself? Right? It's some iteration of, like, well, I need validation to exist. My existence isn't full and complete. I am not divine. I am bad. I am evil. I need somebody else to tell me I'm good. Right? So the tendency to shame yourself, right? If you're moving through, a period of your life, and I want to say very emphatically that this is another thing that builds the root chakra. The claiming of the knowledge that you created your reality. And granted, some people create more consciously than others. But if you are creating a life where right now you are awakening and you're in a deep study of everything spiritual and of yourself, which is the same thing, and you've created lots of experiences in your life. For a person my age, okay, I'm 35. I incarnated into pretty much all the heaviest energies you can incarnate into: murder, addiction, and pedophilia. Okay, do I believe that it's my karma? Because no, I believe that I'm a genius creator, that I learned a lot in a very short amount of time. Like, I've learned a lot in a very short amount of time, so I can deliver with energy and confidence the teachings that I have from the life that I've lived, which are about discernment, which are about being in alignment with yourself, right? Breaking very thick, sticky bonds of conditioning, right? Not only from your personal family, but from the collective unconscious. I'm 35, and I've dealt with those energies, and I've dealt with cancer, and I've dealt with the most epic, the most exaggerated form of deception I could have ever imagined. Never even seen it in a movie, what I experienced with my ex-partner. And I'm like, my mind could say, oh, what's wrong with me? Like, what did I do wrong? Wow, am I that much worse than everybody? And it's like I shared a conversation I had with Abraham Hicks. They said the mind is so quick to assume that something has gone wrong when the reality is that you are a genius creator. And if you can tune that high, if you can love that much, if you can be so in alignment with the truth of the perfection of everything, that you created your reality, that all is love, that we're all walking each other home, and you can live that life in the relative world and still carry that in your heart and in your presence, that is a masterful creation, right? So how does that apply to you? You're a master creator. You're a freaking God. You're a genius. You're a genius. You created your reality. To claim it. People look to astrology and and those things are helpful. But you chose the astrological energies. You chose these things. You chose yourself as the creator. You created and chose these energies to incarnate into, to have an experience. Right? So the best way and the strongest way to increase your earth element is to realize that you created this experience, that you want to be here. Because again, it's about wanting to be here. I want to have this experience. And it's amazing what happens when you claim this truth. Because yeah, I went through cancer. Yeah, I lost lots of body parts. Yeah, but guess what? They're growing back. Guess what? My body's getting younger. My telomeres, because when I let go of the idea that I should have kids now, I should blah 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 blah, what I'm allowing into my consciousness is this whole ascended master teaching about how to regenerate the body, how to tone the womb to prepare for a certain energy that you give birth to, right? This is a practice of the Magdalens, of Mother Mary. Like, all this incredible beauty is coming into my life because I truly stopped assuming that there's something wrong with me, and therefore my vitality, my chi, and my prana is just literally exploding through my hands. And I've showed images of it. Like, when I meditate, I put my hands on my thighs and there's like burn marks of my nails and my bones because it's coming through my bones, because I'm building my energy and my radiation by feeling my emotions, by wanting to be here, by claiming that I created this experience, by acknowledging the love that I have in my life, by appreciating my life, by appreciating my family, by appreciating my neighborhood, by having a conscious conversation with the sun and with the breath and with the elements, like celebrating my connection and celebrating life, right? It's building the earth element in my body, and therefore I have more energy, and therefore I feel amazing, and I have more creative bandwidth available to me, and I can hold more light, right? In spiritual energy increases the elements in you. So I'm already ethereal as fuck. I'm also very fiery. So ether and fire are increasing. So Jesus told me, okay, you have to increase water, because your body will increase it without your permission, right? You'll start with edema, you'll hold on to water, you'll get exhausted, I'll put you in bed, right? That's how the body unconsciously tries to create balance. But when I realized, no, okay, water, like, how do I increase water? Well, I have an emotional connection with my environment. Water is emotion. So I'm consciously increasing the elements within myself. And I'll talk more about the elements because this is a really cool conversation that's been coming into my experience recently. But in a nutshell, own that you created your life. Own that you created your life, because you did. You're a genius. You created it, right? It's amazing, like, how the past just disappears and all of this new amazing stuff can come into your life when you own that you are the creator, right? The paradigm that I used to live in, oh, I have to freeze my eggs, I'm 35. Now it's like I'm learning literally directly from Mother Mary and from other beings in that group how to tone my womb, how to increase my vitality, how to make my body more like light. Whoa, like, that's way cooler than wishing I had kids, which is a beautiful experience, right? But now in the future, if I have kids, they're gonna really like being in my womb, because my womb is kind of dope. Because I put a lot of love in my womb. So yeah, you have to want to be here to increase your vitality, right? So notice the love in your world, consciously communicate with life, and own your creatorship. And this is how you really start to build that earth element in your experience. I hope you have a good day.